John Martin Reservoir State Park. The park is a wonderful place for viewing many different bird species. With the 373 documented bird species in Bent County, John Martin Reservoir State Park is a premier birding area. To see the different bird checklists for John Martin Reservoir, you can find it at the Visitor Center or online at the state website. You also don't want to miss the excellent interpretive exhibits at the Park Visitor Center and the Army Corps of Engineers Visitor Center just south of the river below the dam. John Martin is known for the two federally protected shorebirds, the Leeson tern and the piping plover, in which both nest here in the spring and summer, along with many other different bird species which are found at John Martin as well. John Martin Reservoir State Park is the largest reservoir in southeastern Colorado. With a blind that overlooks the Santa Fe Trail just west of the Visitor Center, to also view many different bird species, you can scan the reservoir, walk along the dam road, and scan from the overlooks on the north side near the Visitor Center. Below the dam, the Lake Hasty Campground has been an excellent riparian area, which makes it perfect to view different birds. The trail that has it all. The Piping Plover Trail could be named so many different names, such as the Rail Trail, after the Black Virginia and Sora that live in the huge John Martin marshes. The Cottonwood Trail, after the Arkansas River and its excellent riparian forest. The Lake Trail, since this small area has more large reservoirs and playa lakes than any other park in the state. Or the Old Santa Fe Trail, for its immense historical significance. But instead we call it the Plover Trail, after the mountain plovers that breed in the high deserts away from the river, the endangered piping plovers that nest alongside the Leeson terns on the shores of John Martin Reservoir, the semi-palmated, black-bellied, and American golden plovers that migrate through the spring and fall, and the killdeers that can be found sometimes even in the winter. The diversity of plovers contradicts a much greater diversity of mammals, reptiles, weather patterns, natural landscape, human cultures. We really could call this trail the trail that has it all. There are many different sites on the Plover Trail, not just John Martin Reservoir. Lahana, Terry Ranch, Lake Cheraw, Bensold Fort, Horse Creek Reservoir, Los Animas State Fishing Unit, Adobe Creek, Shane's Place, Los Animas, Camp Walk, Bents Fort Inn, and Fort Lyon. From Otero County all the way to Prowers County, the Plover Trail remains. The Red Chin Trail at John Martin Reservoir begins at the stone basin below the dam and winds through the state park into the Santa Fe Historic Site on the north shore of the reservoir. The trail is about 4.5 miles and is broken into many different sections, and which provides an excellent opportunity for viewing wildlife and especially for viewing birds. Riparian. Riparian means stream side. Riparians are those found along riversides and other water courses. They have the greatest biodiversity of any habitat in the West. Colorado has fairly distinctive low altitude, medium altitude, and high altitude riparian zones. In the low altitude zones, such as John Martin Reservoir, below about 6,000 feet, riparian habitats usually consist of primarily of cottonwoods and other shrub trees, often with associated underbrush. Wetlands provides habitats for a wide variety of birds. True marshes are usually dominated by cattails and bulrushes. Wet meadows differ from marshes in being less permanently flooded. They are usually dominated by low grasses or sedges. However, John Martin has many different riparian areas for the different bird species. The Leeson tern. The Leeson tern is a small swallow-like bird with black outer wing feathers and a slightly forked tail. The black head with white forehead and with black eye stripes, yellow legs, and a yellow bill contrasts with its pale gray body and white belly. The Leeson tern eats mainly small fishes and catches them by diving into shallow water areas. The piping plover. The adult breeding piping plover is a small, sandy gray colored bird with white breast and one distinctive dark band around its throat. It's smaller than a robin. The piping plover has orange legs and an orange bill with a black tip. The piping plover searches the shorelines for insects to eat. Nesting. Both birds lay creamy white to tan colored, speckled eggs in their nest. Terns typically lay up to 3 to 4 eggs. They often share the same nesting areas alongside the piping plovers. However, piping plovers usually singly nest and lay their eggs, and Leeson terns typically nest in colonies. Terns defend their nesting colonies by calling and diving at intruders, and also dropping waste droppings on those that get too close to their nest. Piping plovers typically arrive in Colorado in April, and Leeson terns arrive in mid-May. The adult birds and their young may reside at John Martin Reservoir South Shore until fall, late September, before they begin their migration south. With the continued public education and research, as well as protecting their habitat and restoration of their habitat, progress is being made towards securing the future of these birds. However, there still has to be a lot done before it's fully progressed. Protecting. The Leeson tern was federally listed as endangered in 1985 under the Endangered Species Act and was listed by Colorado as endangered in 1996. The piping plovers were federally listed as threatened in January of 1986 and then added to the Colorado's threatened list in 1996. Outdoor enthusiasts enjoy a large variety of recreation activities at John Martin Reservoir. Unfortunately, the shoreline areas that people use for recreation are often the same areas by the terns and plovers for nesting. Both birds nest in small, shallow depressions that hollow out, and they raise their young alongside the shoreline and on man-made islands. The nests are very, very difficult to see. Nesting success varies from year to year, depending on the water levels, vegetation, local weather conditions, predators, and human disturbance. While considering research still, nests and chick loss appear to be a major factor limiting the growth of both species. At John Martin Reservoir, predation and human disturbance are number one major cause of nest and chick loss. Of these causes, human disturbance is the most manageable. The public education efforts, such as portions of the shorelines, are closed due to all public access, including pets, during nesting and breeding season. This action is necessary to prevent disturbance or destruction of nests, adult birds, and or hatchings. The closures are posted with signs, and simple fencing is up as well. These are there, therefore, to alert people on the shore of the presence of active birds' nesting sites. Buoys with signs such as endangered bird species warn boaters and swimmers of the presence of nesting sites. It is almost impossible to mark all of the nesting sites. Regardless of whether or not the areas are marked with signs, harassment or harm of either terns or plovers, including adults, youngs, eggs, or nests, is a violation of both state and federal law. Violations are punishable by fines up to $100,000, up to 3 years in jail, suspension of hunting, fishing privileges, penalty of any vehicles or vessels used in the disturbance, any trespass into closure areas by people or pets is viewed as harassment or harm of the endangered species. The best action to take upon observing a closure or an unmarked nest site is to avoid it completely. Educating the public on protecting the Leeson tern and piping plovers is important. Making sure visitors at John Martin Reservoir have an understanding of the preservation of endangered birds is crucial in a successful nesting season for each of the species. We need everyone's help to preserve the birds.